guys, as you know, we are trying to know you correct information Web3 and blockchain space. And right now, CEO of Uforika, Simon with me, and Can Gok from Cast from Istanbul. How are you doing, guys?
Doing great. Great to be here.
Really, really great to be here.
So before the start interview, could you literally explain yourself, please, your background? Yeah.
Sure. So I'm Simon, co-founder and CEO of Uforika. And I am here today to talk about all things Uforika, everything we're building, why we're doing what we're doing, and to tell you guys and your community a little bit more about what we're up to.
Great, great. So please, Can, turn of you.
Well, I'm working at Castrum right now. I was a game developer. I'm still a game developer actually. But in Castrum, I lead actually the game things, like for example, developing some structures for our backed projects, improving them, creating additional effects for them. Especially me and my team, we are always improving the projects that we invested and things like that. Actually, it's really complicated. It's not just writing codes for the games. It is really complicated, and glad to be here. Glad to be here because Uforika is really interesting project. I love Uforika. It's a great project.
Okay, let's talk about Uforika and tell us a little bit your background and your experience, why you and your team started with Uforika.
Absolutely. So I think, me personally, so I come from the IT industry. That's where I've spent the majority of my professional career. And really that was focusing on commercial and alliances, delivering solutions, infrastructure into enterprise grade businesses. And I've worked alongside some very large organizations, so Apple, Microsoft, Lenovo, HP, Intel. But aside from that, in my personal life, I have a huge passion for the creative arts. So I have a master's degree in that subject. And really it was the convergence of tech and creativity that led me to video games. So I've always been a keen gamer, and it's been great actually in the last few months to see a lot of big gaming IPs move on to the small screen and the big screen. So you've just had the Super Mario Brothers movie come out. We've seen things like The Last of Us, which is a great gaming title that's been now a series. So really there's a lot of creative passions that I like to explore alongside the tech side of things. And really, when we start to think about blockchain and Web3, in the IT industry, we have to remember that blockchain has been utilized for quite a while. And typically it works around supply chain logistics when you look at enterprise organizations exploring blockchain technology. But when you start to then explore how that looks with the gaming industry, there's a number of values that blockchain and Web3 can bring to empower users to really take ownership of their creativity. So, that's me. And then I have two other co-founders, Adam and Zach. So Zach comes from the film and media industry. He, like me, is a keen gamer. He has a particular passion for sci-fi and fantasy, but his specialism is really exploring how you can take IP and then transfer that into a film project ultimately, and what that can look like to engage consumers and users. And then Adam has a particular specialism in operations and finance, but he has an architecture background. So for him, he's particularly keen on how you work with tooling to construct environments, how you utilize tooling to build 3D assets. So really the three of us wanted to explore our own skill sets and try and make that work in terms of structuring a project. And really, that's where Uforika started out from.
Be honest, what a great vision. And especially Can is very dedicated in this topic. Can, how do you find the vision of Uforika? What do you think about this?
Well, let me just give my idea on that topic. And later, if you want, I can ask a question because this is really important. First of all, Uforika is a project that is actually showing us what kind of a metaverse we need in Web3. I mean, Uforika is just a powerful tool. I am not seeing this as a metaverse because it's a game engine actually, right, Simon? And it's really powerful. It's really like what we need to see in Web3 environment because we do not see powerful projects like that in Web3. I mean, yes, every project has unique identities. Every project has unique features inside of them. But Euphorica is on another level. For example, we are at type 0 civilization level. Then Euphorica is at the type 1 level because there are lots of things. But let me ask my question. So why did you create a game engine from scratch? I mean, there is Unreal Engine with stunning graphics. There is Unity game engine. There are lots of things, lots of guys working on that. Why did you create it? I know the answer, but the answer you will give is really, really important for the audience that is watching you.
Yeah, and look, it's a great question, and it's a really important question. And I'll talk a little bit about how we structure Uforika, because we work to 3 pillars really. But ultimately, to begin with, the first point to make is that, Chan, as you've already explained, there are some great engines out there. So you have Unity, you have Unreal, but it's important for everybody to understand the technical context to those engines. So both Unity and Unreal were released around 20 years ago. And originally, both of those engines were designed for first-person shooter games and mobile games. So MMO, massive multiplayer online environments, that's something that came later. So as a result of that, both of those engines were never architected for that purpose. So over the years, you've had a number of sort of third-party bolt-ons in an attempt to, make those engines fit the evolving virtual landscapes that we're moving towards. When you start to consider, the Web3 values and the integration of blockchain, we take a different approach here. And for us, it's all about having an engine that is capable of delivering the user experience that we want to deliver. Because to be blunt, the user experience we want to provide, we can't achieve that with existing engines. And we're very fortunate, in our team that we have a lot of very great experience around game engine design. And that gives us the capability to deliver on the vision that we have. And the way that we structure Uforika ultimately works across those 3 pillars. So those 3 pillars are the brand and IP to get user engagement. So that's where we have, the world of Uforika you see behind me. You have that element of IP, that characterization, that narrative, that story that certainly I'm very passionate about. And that then builds towards the platform experience and the way that we utilize the engine and the tooling to deliver, very powerful tools for users, particularly when it comes to user-generated content and the way that we provide for that. And then all of that is underpinned by the 3rd pillar, which is that game engine technology, which is providing that experience for users. So I think it's very important for everybody to understand, the context of why we're approaching it in this way. And Unreal and Unity are fantastic engines, and there's certainly some great projects that are building out there using those engines for the purpose that those engines were designed for. The purpose that we are driving towards, needs a different kind of technical capability, and that's why we approach it in the way that we do.
Thank you for a great explanation. Be honest, as I said, very visionary project, Uforika. I just personally curious, how did you come up with the idea for Uforika, and what inspired to you bring it to life? So could you share your thoughts about this? Thank you.
Again, a great question, and I love talking about this. So I think, now you've understood a little bit about the team and the background of the team. We all were particularly curious to explore, the concept of metaverse. And when that really started to evolve and we started to see first iterations of platforms coming to market, we were all keen to explore what the user experience was going to be like. And for us, we had a particular interest in this concept of mass adoption. So everybody talks about mass adoption and what that looks like. And we started to analyze some of the data trends that we were seeing from, the platforms that were emerging. And then we started to explore some of the market trends that were appearing as well. We talk about metaverse as a market opportunity. And that led us really to consider our own views on what we thought a metaverse platform should be and what we as users would want that to look like. So it started off really as a personal project, as a vision, just 3 friends getting together to write something. But we were we were very lucky in that we had some mutual connections to some video game industry veterans. And we took the concept to them, and they absolutely loved it. And we formed a partnership very, very quickly. And really from there, that's where the idea for Uforika started to grow and evolve. And then we started to really focus in on those 3 pillars that I talked to in the previous question about how are we going to create a world, what was the IP going to look like that surrounded that. From the platform side, how can we create a world environment that was really going to be fun and engaging for the user base, but how do we empower users to really give them the tech and the tooling that they need to enjoy that experience and support the user journey as they go through a massive world platform. And then lastly, it's the technology angle around looking at all the ingredients that are out there. Is that tech that's currently out there fit for purpose? If it's not, how do we evolve that? What can we deliver to support the experience that we want to provide? So, really for us, it was bringing all of our own passions together, exploring the metaverse as a concept, trying to understand the barriers that were appearing, that we were coming across as users, and ultimately, how do we break those down to present something that actually adds value to the space? And that's what we're all about, really, and that's our driving motivation.
Thank you. And my other question for Django. Django, how do you describe this metaverse? Could you share your thoughts about it?
Well, to be fair, I'm not gonna lie. When I met with Simon, I entered a meeting. I also stated that to Simon as well. I thought that Euphorica, like, it is impossible to create with the current technology. So I asked, why did you do that? I mean, how did you do that? How this is possible? And he explained it, and I was like, wow, these guys are amazing. So the graphics are amazing. But the main thing we should be talking is the answer of Simon to my question. This game engine is specialized on actually massive multiplayer experience. The game engines right now is not actually, yeah, you can do that, but you have to work so hard. But Euphorica is a different story. So Simon, I have to ask you another question because this is really related to that question. So we're talking about massive environments, and it's going to be a huge environment that we are inside. So let's talk about the non-fungible tokens, NFTs. So, for example, will I be able to, like, for example, inside of that environment, what are the NFTs that I can use? For example, can I purchase a house? Then I can maybe place it. What about the furnitures? What about chairs inside of that house? What is the GameFi level? How much we can go to the like a level that everything is integrated to Web3?
Yeah, again, this is a really great topic here, and I think this is where we start to talk about how blockchain is integrated into world platforms and why there's a powerful use case for this. So the first point to start here is that we've talked a lot about how we are working around tooling for user-generated content. And in terms of the actual technical architecture that we have a fully modular pluggable engine. So that means that users can bring in and import and export assets and content from other platforms. So if you're building 3D content in, say, Maya or Blender, and you want to import that content into Uforika, you can do that. It's key as well to remember here that all content and assets that users create within our world is owned by the user. So this is where we start to now bring in elements of the Web3 values into the world that we're building. All of those content and assets are populated into the user accounts via an NFT tag. So, John, this is where we start to talk about the concept of NFT. Why is that relevant? Well, it comes back to this concept of ownership. And we're talking here about ownership of data, ownership of assets. So the user ultimately can then look to monetize that or trade that. So, I think there's well-documented cases of other sort of platforms that exist in the Web 2 environment where the user purchases content, but they never truly own it. It's owned by the platform. So when that game for whatever reason, if the server's closed and then the game closes, the users then can't do anything with the assets that they've previously, purchased. Web3 is a very different ecosystem that supports user ownership. So NFTs are the technical standard that facilitate that. And clearly, the blockchain enables all of those transactions to be transparently verified. And that's what we are all about in terms of integrating that blockchain technology into the platform to provide that ownership of assets and content for the user. Because ultimately for us, we've talked about this word empowering. We really want to empower the user to give them access to the engine and to the tech and the tooling so that they can create their own content and assets. Now, obviously, alongside that, there's other elements that we have within our world. We have our own native game experience, which is centered around hoverboard battle racing, and there's various assets that users will be able to purchase to support their gaming experience. But on the content creation side, it's all about user first, and that's the approach that we take.
My other question is for Simon. And Simon, if you could describe Uforika in just 3 words, what will they be and why?
It would be liberating limitless creativity. And the reason that we talk to those 3 words is, again, it comes back to structuring a world platform that actually breaks down barriers for users. So we really want to enable users to be able to come into the world and not feel restricted in what they can do. So, that's the reason why we approach tooling in the way that we do. Because of the way that we approach our technical architecture, we're able to do innovative things there, like lower the base specification required at the edge. So, you as a user don't need to go and purchase a very high-end gaming PC, for example, in order to access the world that we're building. So, it's liberating the user experience in a number of different ways and really enabling users to explore their creativity and enable them to create something that they can be proud of, and supporting the user in that journey. So I think those are the 3 words that we would go for.
So what makes different the Uforika to other metaverse project? What do you think about this?
Yeah, I think, again, it's a great question, but it is important to state that, Web3 is all about collaboration and working, together to drive the ecosystem forwards. So I have to say, there are a number of great projects out there that are doing really good things to make that happen. I think for us, our differentiator really goes around the blend of how we approach the structure of our world. We've got that element of brand and IP, we've got the platform experience, we've got the technical architecture that sits underneath. And as John kind of mentioned earlier, we take a different approach that you don't normally see out there in terms of the way that the projects are approaching building and structuring what they're doing. And for us, I've mentioned a couple of the technical ingredients that we have that differentiate us, that enable us to do innovative things. And I think, they're just a handful of ingredients that distinguish us, but there's a lot more that we can add into the cooking pot, so to speak, to support the experience that we're building.
Thank you for answer. And John, would you like to add something about this?
Well, let me add another question. This is my final and last question, by the way. So let's assume that I loved Uforika and I just created a mansion and I invited the people to here. So I actually created furnitures inside of that mansion and it's ready for the party. Let's say that I'm selling tickets as NFTs with Uforika token. And I'm inviting people to here, and the people that only has the NFT can enter to mansion with using Uforika token. Is this possible in Uforika?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot of interesting things to talk about in that example. The way that we approach access to environments. So users, for example, can make decisions on whether they want to keep the environment they've created private and it becomes an environment that is gated. So you made the example of having an NFT ticket. That can be effectively acting as a token gate to enable users who have that ticket to access the world. I mean, equally on the other side, there will be examples where users will be able to make their space public. So actually a user can create an experience where the initial entrance is available to everybody, and then you can, impact various experiences within the world that you've created that become gated or that can become private. Or you can have examples where the user can come in and interact with objects and assets, or you can do it the other way and enable a user to come in and actually they can explore and see what's going on, but they can't then interact with the assets that are in place. And that's all around the way that we deal with moderation and how we moderate the community, how we give them access, so there's lots of different ways that you can configure the experience that you want to build as a creator, and everything is available to you. And again, this comes back to our point around liberating the experience for users, not wanting to place restrictions on how a user creates content, wanting to empower the user and giving the user the choice of how they want their environment to work, as they explore other members of the Uforika community.
Actually, I have one personal question. Can we change the LNFTs and can we create a unique concept in the metaverse? Is that possible? Yeah.
Okay, understand. Yeah, so I think, again, this all comes down to the way we integrate the blockchain tech side of things. So in terms of creating NFTs, yes. So we are building, a minting module, for example. So when you create something, you want to mint it, trade it, make it available to other community members. Yes, for us, that's absolutely the vision that we have, to make all of that possible within our world. And also, that leads to other than, considerations around secondary marketplaces as well, because clearly the whole value in a user taking ownership of their assets is that they want to be able to take those assets with them and do whatever they wish. So if that means they want to export those assets away from Uforika and place them on a secondary marketplace, absolutely, that's possible. I mean, there's other conversations we can have now around interoperability, and we have a full import-export function available, but to make true interoperability a reality, that requires technical collaboration across platforms. So there's a lot of work to do there, I think, as an industry, as a whole, but we are laying the foundations to enable that, at least with Uforika.
Thank you for answer. So would you like to add something, John?
Well, I would like to say that thank you for bringing a project like that to the Web3 integration, Web3 environment, actually. I have no more questions. I mean, it was really, really, explanations were great. Thank you, Simon. Thank you, really. Because why I'm just talking like that, in Web3 right now, we need to see projects like that. I'm telling it everywhere. If I see a good project, I have to praise that, because we cannot let these projects to be forgotten. It's a great project, and it's an honor to be here and just talk with you, ask questions to you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and I think it's key that we do have conversations around the technical aspect to projects as well, because this is such a big part of what's going to drive the Web3 ecosystem forwards, and how we see innovation coming through on the technical side, in addition to the way that projects approach, consumerization and how we can engage users and really kind of put the fun on the table, really, and make sure that users really enjoy the experiences that they're coming into. And I think we'll see a lot more of that as we move through the next sort of couple of years in the space, and certainly that's what motivates us.
It was a really, really good conversation with you guys. I'm very enjoyed from your answer. It was very informational content, I'm pretty sure, for our subscribers. So what would you like to say more, Simon, to our subscribers?
Yeah, look, I think for us, for now, it's all about exploring the world of Uforika, and you can do that in a number of different ways. And I'm sure we'll post all of our social channels as well for users to access. But if you check us out on our website, which is uforika.io, there's a number of different ways that you can get involved in the project. And one of those is our ambassador program, which is called the Alpha Ambassador Program, which is all linked into the story of our world. And there's an application form that you can go through on our website. So I think definitely check us out. And we've got some interesting and exciting products that we're going to be bringing to market in the next couple of weeks. So yeah, keep tuned.
As I said, it was a really good conversation with you guys. I really appreciate it. So for more content like this, just follow us, stay tuned. We are trying to know you correct information Web3 and blockchain space. Follow us, guys. See ya.
Thank you very much.